have is a request from Lancaster County Development Authority to provide weekly mobile hygiene units at the Ephrata Library.
Yes, we have a request from it's Lancaster Redevelopment Authority and Lancaster EMS to provide these mobile hygiene units at the library on Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And we do have a representative, Carly, here from Lancaster EMS, so I don't know, Carly, would you like to explain that further?
Sure. We partnered with what was Lanco My Home, and now the Housing Authority, or Housing Development Authority, to launch Refresh Lancaster, which is a mobile hygiene and medical unit. It has 2 shower stalls and a medical office specifically serving those experiencing homelessness. We're located at 4 other places in Lancaster County, well, 3 other county sites and 1 site in the city. And we specifically try to partner with areas that have like a social services hub. So the Ephrata Library has their social service hub in there. We set up from 9:30 to 11:30 every day of the week. In Ephrata, we'd like to come on Thursdays and offer showers, offer medical navigation, resources for homelessness, clothing banks, food pantries. I can answer any questions if you have them.
I have a question.
Okay.
Can I ask, are you guys going first?
No, we're gonna go first.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right, no problem. Have you requested from the borough a permit to put this on the site? Because I mean, it sounds like you're telling me that it's already been there and been in use.
Well, it's been there once. Prior to the first time that we set up, there was another person that was getting permission from the borough. I was told that we had permission. We set up, and then I was told we have to come this route. So now I'm taking over that portion of it. I don't know what he had discussed prior. We were told that we did not need a permit though.
So was a permit required? I guess that's the first question.
Well, they have to, the borough owns the property. So anything that they do on the borough, or on the property has to come through, basically a request from the owner to be approved. So it sounds like that wasn't the avenue that was taken to get that written approval. Am I correct, Nancy?
Correct. As part of the lease, anything going on the exterior is up to council to approve. So, you know, in this case, it's a temporary use, which for something that occurs 2 hours a week, 2.5 hours a week, we don't normally issue a temporary zoning permit for something as minor as that. So it really comes down to more of an obligation with the lease and how the committee and council feels about that. Are there any loss of parking spaces?
Yeah, there are. I would say 4 or 5 spots that are covered.
What's the length of this question?
27 feet.
Yeah, the picture that you provided looks like there's a loss of like 5 or 6 parking places, the way it's, the picture that's in the packet. I wouldn't think there'd be that much excess parking at the library at this point, based on what the requirements are. Do you know, Nancy? Or is that?
I mean, if it's one of their peak times, parking's usually pretty full. I mean, we do have the overflow lot down by the skate park, but we're all humans and don't like to walk further than we need to, so it doesn't always get used as well.
Yes. Alan, Jim, anybody?
So it's really just up for our approval, and as far as zoning is concerned, it's acceptable, is that right?
It's a temporary use. I don't know that we have any kind of use like this in the ordinance.
So it's not, they need a variance, is that,
I mean,
it's not really their property, so they're not really asking for a variance.
right. It's a good question. I hadn't thought of that. I mean, regarding a use that's there for 2.5 hours, hygiene units, like I said, there's nothing like that in the ordinance, so I don't even know what I'd compare it to say whether it's a permitted use or not. Because it's just a trailer, you're not selling anything, but you are providing services.
Sure.
So,
How does the library people feel about people running the library? They have a comment?
Go ahead, I'll let you answer that question, I'll get back to council again.
So it's kind of out of our hands. It is on borough property. There is an in-need population that congregates around the library. We figure the disruption will be minimal, and it's only 2 hours, 2.5 hours a week, providing a service for people. It's not, it's more on their plate than ours. They're just using our parking lot, which is your parking lot. This is not an official thing that the library came up with. We were asked for the use of our parking lot, and then they're asking for use because it's your parking lot.
Well, I guess one of my thoughts is, we have Good Sam, we have the social services, they're already doing this, so I don't see that there's, I mean, I don't know for sure, but
Can I answer that?
you know, it's just, I wanna let Ms. Martin go next, but I'm just trying to figure out why we need more of these popping up over in the borough.
Okay.
You know, and yeah, there's a need, but
The
in terms of like.
Good Sam is there,
I'd like to,
Yes,
if I
go
could.
ahead.
I guess I have a couple questions. Did this go through library? I mean, did this go through the board? Was this a board approval? Did this,
This was something that we discussed.
and when did you discuss this?
We talked about it last week when you were there.
Oh, no, this was not talked about at the board meeting that I was at. It was not talked about, because I knew this was coming up, so I was listening for that. It did not come up at the board meeting, but that's beside the point. It did not come up. I can tell you that, because I was there from the very start to the very finish of the board
It's
meeting.
not something that the library is running though.
So I understand, and I understand
So
that.
like, it's kind of one of those things, like, it's talked about, and then we're like, well, we don't really have an official policy, just like you guys.
And that's
do.
the way that's what I was asking. So you didn't take this to a board?
No, there was no board
approval?
motion for
Okay,
this.
all right, I just wanted, and I just had another question. Are there any other libraries, public libraries that this unit is on in the county?
Not libraries, we do
Okay.
have other public sites.
Okay. And I guess the biggest issue I have with this location is that it's at the library, and first of all, that's where little children come in with their parents to do story time, and older people come in to borrow books, and the parking lot's full, and I think this is not a good place to have a facility like this in the middle of a huge parking lot with children and families coming through, flanked by 2 major roads. You know, we do a lot of, our focus, you know, as council members, one of our biggest focuses here lately has been for economic development. That's where, you know, we've been setting policies for economic development by funding Mainspring, by, you know, having this, trying to be a vibrant town. And I just think this is kind of counterintuitive of what we're actually trying to do. I don't have a problem with these services being rendered, but you take a place like the Declaration House. They have a huge parking lot in the back that butts up against trees, and we have the hub bus that can go from Ephrata Hub down to the Declaration House. That to me would be a much better position of a facility like this, that there's no children going past it. It's in the back of, you know, there's woods behind there. It's a huge parking lot. There's no impact of parking. In fact, the people that do go there are looking for services like that. But I really have a huge opposition, not to the services being rendered here, but to the location in the heart of our town where the library is. And it also says here that the library is gonna provide the water. Well, I mean, every time the library comes to us, they're on a shoestring budget. They can barely make the programs and services, and I just think this is an added, burden, financial burden to them that I don't think is part of their, should be part of the programs and services. And it was, if you looked at the meeting notes we have, the library municipal report, it was part of the programs and services. It was listed in there as a programs and services. So it is in your hands and it's listed as part of your programs and services. So I just vehemently oppose this, and I don't think it's any place that the Ephrata Library, I don't think it should be in the Ephrata Library. I think there's too many other locations it could be that make much more sense and have a lot lower impact on our citizens and our library patrons.
Mr. Boro.
Okay, well, to me, the services offered are a continuation of what's been offered by the library and the hubs. I don't see any problem there. It's 2.5 hours a week. I don't see how that's gonna be a major problem for parking either. I mean, it will hold up if you spend, 5 spaces, as someone said. But it's only 2.5 hours worth of water. I really don't see that as a major expense. That's becoming very nitpicky, I think. I see no reason to oppose it.
Yes, please, Mr. Pierce, yes.
I'll actually let the Lancaster, oh, I'm sorry.
In the front, sorry, I'll get to you in a second, Rebecca.
Sorry. Mr. Zimmer, I agree with you totally. I think there are other organizations within our community that represent those types of services. I think, as Mrs. Martin stated, that we're doing so many things and spending a lot of taxpayer money to try to enhance our community. And I think that to offer these services and encourage these people to come to our town, because if you build it, they will come. And we've seen that across the country, that cities and towns have been destroyed by the number of people who are coming in who are not taxpayers. And I think that when our taxpayers in this community find out that we're encouraging homeless people in this community to come here and receive additional services, I think, as Mrs. Martin pointed out, it just doesn't work with the idea that we're also spending our hard-earned taxpayer dollars in this community to enhance the community. These people, unfortunately, are not contributing to our community. As a former member of this council and as a past president of the library board, I am very opposed to this. This is not a good thing for our community. And I think if you ask the hardworking taxpayers in this community, they would probably agree.
Thank you for your comments. Rebecca?
I'm going to defer, I'll wait until she goes.
Oh, okay.
To your point as to the other services that are available, there are services available, but there are people that are living outside, there are people that are living in their cars that aren't welcome in all of these services that are already established and available, or they're not at a place in their life where they're ready to make the changes that are required to be welcome in some of those facilities. There are guidelines and there's programs that people have to follow in order to go to some of the homeless shelters. And there are some people who, they just aren't ready to do it. So yes, there are services in place, but if you're not going to the shelter, you can't use their showers. To the point about drawing people to the library where there are children, they're already there. The people who are experiencing homelessness are already going to libraries to keep warm during the day. We have a social service hub in the library specifically to help meet needs. And it's not just homeless people, it's low income, it's people who are living in poverty. And to the point that you made about people that are not contributing to society, one of the families that has not been able to use the service yet because we're not up there. I received a call from one of the social workers at Capalico saying that there's a family, they're living in their car, there's 2 children, the social worker would like to, when she knows we're up and running, have the parents bring the kids over so they can take a shower and then go to school. So it's not just about drawing people who are homeless and not necessarily who you want in your library parking lot, but it is about showing kindness to people who don't have anything else. And I think the conception of people who are experiencing homelessness is not, most people's perceptions, it is not reality. We have kids living in cars, we have people living in cars, we have people living outside. And not everybody is at a point where they are going to make the changes that they need to make in order to stay in a shelter and get into a rehousing program. And they're just not there, they're not ready to do it. They are still sleeping outside. And not just that, if you think about how good it feels when you get out of a shower, do you even want to walk into a doctor's office? Do you want to walk into any type of housing support and ask for help if you've been sleeping outside for the last week and you feel dirty and you feel grungy? And just that, the showers are one part of it, but it's just giving people the feeling that they can take the next step. And also, like I said, we offer medical services, so the showers are kind of a carrot to have people come, take shower, let us talk to you about the medication you should be on, or the treatment that you should be getting, the mental health services that you should be accessing, and what housing resources are available.
We understand all that, I think, and I understand what you're saying. And nobody, I think, on this panel is objecting to wanting those services. But I just think this big structure at the public library, taking up spaces and having families walk by there, I just think that that's the wrong location. That's my point. It's not that we're against these services. Like I said, you take a declaration house, you take in the back of that declaration house, a huge parking lot up against a wooden area. I mean, that to me is more appropriate. I don't think this public library in this borough is the appropriate place to have this facility. It's not that I'm having any problem with the services you're offering. It's about the location of this library, being in the library. The heart of our town, I think, is the wrong place to have that. That's the point I'm making. Not that we don't appreciate your services. We certainly do. It's the location. I think it's a bad choice, and I think there's much better choices. Church parking lots, things of that nature, private parking lots, not in the middle of the hub of our town, up on a hill where people are walking around. I just think that's a wrong choice.
Mr. Randall?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with Ms. Bechtel as far as these kids are already exposed probably to a lot of these individuals if they're at the library, regardless if they're showering or not showering. The Declaration House, where is that?
It's in Denver.
Okay, so that's in Denver. They're partnered up with the Northern Hub, right? I mean, the Northern Hub, if I'm not mistaken, is the building right next to the library, correct? And that's not our property, or is it? That's their property. And I'm looking at the Google Maps. I mean, I don't see how, if this is a potential, if everybody's upset about possibly it being right there front and center off 272, you see the parking lot of the library there. You come in off 272, you can park toward the tail end there along the side of the building for those 2.5 hours every week or every 2 weeks or whatever it is when those hub employees are not there. Or they just park their cars over in the library parking lot. I mean, most of them always kind of interact with each other, and then they can exit easily enough right out onto South State Street too. Still in the borough, still near the library. It's not on the library's property, which is the borough property, but I mean, I don't know if that's been considered or entertained. I mean, the only other question I had with the email or this, the email from you, Ms. Bechtel. So Payne offered water hookup for the trailer, so that's coming from the library. So I'm sure it's easier to just hook the hose from wherever it is to out in front of that parking lot. If they're still hooking up the water, which we're providing, you know, if they have to run it across that little driveway, you know, when you connect the front and back sides of the library, I don't know which is which. Does that work? I'm just confused with, she confirmed this is a library expense and would not require any borough resources. Like, I'm lost on that. Because isn't the borough resource or the easier resource the water? I mean, do we give them free water too at the library?
No.
No.
We do not yet.
No,
And we have grant money to cover the water.
cover that,
And if
yes.
everybody's concerned about the water, they can send me.
I'm not as concerned about the water, Mike. I'm just thinking, I don't know how long if it's only been there once so far, right? Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long the hose is that's extending
It's
from.
just a garden hose, 100 foot.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't know what the distance is if it were to go down in the hub parking lot. You know what I'm saying? If it's not on the borough property, maybe you need a couple hoses to connect. I'm not sure.
And I haven't been that involved in all of this.
Yeah.
Like, there is a problem, and like, there's homelessness around here. And providing people with the basic dignity of being able to get a shower once a week, I don't think it's as bad having it at the library, but if there is a better location here in town, I think we would all. But the resources that they're offering, resources that the hub has, it's kind of a central location, you know, to try to get these people help, because the homelessness problem is not going away. And like, as much as we try to like put it out of our minds, I mean, they hang out downtown all day, you know, it's, Ephrata Social Services does not provide showers that I'm aware of. Good Sam doesn't just take people and let them get showers, so like.
I think the important thing, this is the only thing I'm thinking of is, and I know your state declaration. The problem is,
That's an
majority of
example.
homeless people
It's an example.
are here in town. They're not going to get out. However, at the same time, like it or not, the majority of this community, from what I've heard so far, is we're not necessarily want this to become the hub of homelessness in northern Lancaster County. So do we promote it on our acre? I mean, that to me is, I'm thinking, that's as close as you get to the library, if you're at the hub, which is a private property that the library oversees. And if that means you just gotta get a longer extension for a hose, maybe that, you know, appeases everybody. I'm not sure, I'm just saying, but that's where I think a majority of council is up here, is we're concerned, you know, of the community saying, you know, because everybody's starting to realize it. I mean, people are driving down through Main Street now. My wife's a bus driver, and there's other bus drivers that says, "Oh my word, what's going on?" There's a guy sitting out on the bench, laying on the bench in front of City Gate. You know, so and people start getting worried. They're like, "Is it going to happen here? Is it going to go to Clay Township? Is it going to go to Akron? Is it going to go wherever?" So I mean, these are the dicey situation we're in. So.
But council it's council's decision to set these policies. If we keep setting policies that allow this to continue on in our community, it's gonna continue on and continue on and continue on. That's my fear. And then we are gonna continue to have these policies. We have the right and the duty to set policies for the majority of our citizens, not the few homeless people. That's what I'm trying to explain.
Do we not have the authority to set the policies on our property?
On our property we do.
What about not our
Not
property?
on our property we don't, but we're talking about our property tonight.
Yeah, right now we're talking about that. I'm just offering possibly another thought there, you know.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
So when when the shower was developed and taken into Lancaster, this was hugely embraced, not just by the homeless community and the at-need community. This was hugely embraced by the community as a whole. And that's because there is a greater benefit. And it's not just the dignity of a shower, that is a huge thing. That's huge. We don't have the resources to be able to provide showers at Ephrata Social Services. The complaint was made last week at the council meeting that there are homeless individuals that are, and the quote was, showering in the bathrooms at the Whistle Stop.
The complaint was the way they were destroying them after the showers. That was the condition they were leaving the showers in, or the bathrooms in. That was the complaint.
So this is a fantastic solution to be able to provide an alternative to the showering in the bathroom at Main Spring and whatnot. when this was initially designed and proposed, and the problem, obviously, the communication was somehow broken down because Kelly Ernst Warner, who was running the hub, she's no longer running the hub, and the new individual starts next week or this week. So there's a gap in timeline. But this was initially planned out through this nice organization, this charitable organization, through the hub, and works with the borough office. And the talk was that this was going to be down in the parking lot by the skate park, not in the main part of the parking lot where it would be in some sort of, top of the mountain, oh, look at us, we're doing this big thing. It's down in the bottom. They have boot warmers, they have clothes available, they have food available. And I'm not sure how many of you have spent any time actually at social services, volunteering or talking to the homeless individuals, talking to the families in need, talking to 87 Ephrata students that were homeless last year. The fact is, when they go to school and they smell, or when individuals are trying to get work, but they go to an interview and they smell like they've been living in their car, it puts them at a greater disadvantage. The fact is, there's not a lot of options in terms of affordable housing. There are families. These are not just randoms. These are individuals that have lived here, and through no fault of their own, things have happened. And when 54 families had their electric cut off the first time, and then the list the second time was 193, excuse me, I'm still talking, and I don't appreciate your smart remarks. You expect the dignity from us, I expect the dignity from you.
I didn't say a word to you.
No, I heard you under your breath.
Let's just keep.
It's,
We're not talking about.
this is about this. Now the problem is, their portable shower unit is not safe on the incline at the commons. It's just not, it's not a safe environment to have it there. They were talked to and working with the borough. That wasn't even the issue. The issue was when they wanted to hook up to the water and they asked for a key to hook it up. That's when Zach said, no, we can't do that. We've got to get borough approval first. That's when this all of a sudden transpired and moved forward.
Okay, you had a comment you wanted to ask?
I actually have a question for you, ma'am. The funding for the portable showers, do they come out of the Lancaster County Redevelopment and Authority funding?
We have a grant that is specific, a grant through the housing development.
Okay.
And it is specifically earmarked for, this is not my expertise, and someone else got the grant to get it up and running, but basically, there was money dumped into COVID and, specifically people experiencing homelessness. So that's where our grant came from, and I can get more information on that if anybody needs it, but.
Would you know how recent?
Excuse me, can I recommend that we get some order in the discussion? This is a committee meeting of Borough Council. It's not a public discussion amongst the crowd. This is a committee meeting of Borough Council. If there's public comment, please keep it brief. But right now, Mr. Zimmerman is the chair of the meeting. This is a discussion amongst council. If they want to allow someone to speak, they can do so. Thank you.
I guess I'll cut that off. I can talk to Justin Evie on how.
Excuse me.
Had you a question earlier? Excuse me.
I just wanted to point out that after a recent, very detailed conversation with Nate Hoffer of Good Samaritan, I absolutely trust his information, and he assured me that individuals could come in to the warming shelter and get a shower. Yeah, he did assure me, and so I'm not sure that's accurate information, but it came from Nate Hoffer himself, so I thought I would point that out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council members, any further comments, questions?
My only comment would be, I'm not against this at all. I do question the location. I wonder if a well-spanned property or somewhere else would be a better location for it. And I question why the library was picked. Was it picked because there's homeless people on the property now? And is that something we should encourage? So I'm against this at that location.
Mr. Barr, do you have anything as another committee member? Anything further to say?
Well, definitely have an objection to being at that location. However, now if the hub being right next door, privately owned, could provide a way of supporting it, I could see doing that. I mean, I can understand people's concern. But one thing that really annoys me are NIMBYs, and we seem to have a lot of NIMBYs popping up whenever something socially oriented comes about like this. And like I said, that's just my opinion there. However, I also heard a loosely based or loosely referred to homeless situation in California cities. There seem to be some people here concerned that we're gonna have tent cities like they have out in California and various cities out there along the warmer weather. We don't have that kind of weather here except maybe for a few months of the summer. And so to think that we're gonna become a homeless hub as in cities like Santa Fe or let's see, San Francisco and Los Angeles and what have you, that's just wrong. We're not going to become a homeless hub like that. I just think that it is a good project. If it can be accommodated at or very near that site simply because of all the services offered by the hub and the library, it's simply a continuation of those services.
Okay, well, I think I got good information here. My comments go back to, same thing. I mean, it's definitely needed in the borough. Is the location right? I don't think so. So, I personally don't think I want to grant permission. I think the Lancaster County Redevelopment Authority needs to go back to the drawing board and do their homework and find another location that's better suited than borough property. And, I mean, the library is one of the biggest assets we have in the borough. And I don't want to see that affected anyway at all. So I would vote no with going ahead. Gentlemen, what's your?
No.
Yes.
Okay. So, sure.
I guess the comment I'd like to make to listen to everything that's been said, I've been here 17 years. This is the first time I've heard about this ever. Formally, I heard some talk out on the street about it. But this council, to my knowledge, has never been told about this whatsoever. So, in all the dialogue you're saying may have been going on, we weren't included in any of this. The Borough of Ephrata officially was never told anything. So, I just want to make a statement. This is the first I'm hearing this. And I think it's the first that most of it are hearing it, officially. So, not really fair to slam the borough or have us say we're doing whatever. I think everybody here conceptually, we have no issues, but conceptually, but we were never in the loop in this thing. And that's not our fault. I mean, whoever was in the loop didn't do the right thing, and that's not our fault. So we have to deal with what we know. We're just knowing tonight what's going on. So unless I missed something, which is doubtful,